at Green School Bali, and we're joined by our curriculum advisor, Ibu Emily.
Hi, everybody.
So very quickly, we're going to just talk about admissions, and then we're going to turn it over to Ibu Emily to answer your questions about the Green School curriculum. So at any point, if you have questions, type them into your chat box, and we'll get to as many as we can. So very briefly, we are currently accepting applications for the 2020-2021 academic year, which begins in August. The first round of acceptance letters will go out in mid-April. If you want to be considered for the first round, we need to get your applications completed and all materials and documents submitted before March 1st. Okay, so you can just go to our website and fill out an online application. If you have any questions, let us know, but make sure to have it all done by the March 1st deadline. Ibu Pancha, do you have anything to add?
Of course, just each way to gain information. There's also you can start application for January 2021. Yes, and then we will be closing that in September 1st of October, I think, and then we will be start offering place for the second semester of school year 2020 and 2021 in mid-October. So we are our door wide open for you now. Just start your process now.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to introduce herself and talk about the evolution of the Green School curriculum and just an overview of
Hi, everybody. As Ibu Jen already said, my name is Emily. I've been at Green School now for about 9 years or so. So I have witnessed this evolution, both on the curriculum itself, but also as a teacher. So I teach right now in the high school and sometimes in the middle school. So I'm open for any questions about the teaching and learning in regards to that as well. But just to speak really briefly about our approach to curriculum here at Green School, the Green School itself has experienced a number of different periods in terms of our curriculum development. For example, when the school opened in its early days, it was definitely very much influenced by the teachers, a small group that were there at the time. And a lot of those teachers had a Steiner background and had a lot of influence on the culture of the school. And then as the school grew, we also experienced a period where we were teaching the Cambridge International School curriculum as the school was trying to stabilize and trying to find its own identity that way. But I don't think, I think at the time we were really feeling like that kind of standardized curriculum wasn't really fitting with our mission. And that mission to be a community of learners making our world sustainable, but really kind of focus on action and education for sustainability. So about 5 years or so ago, the school started really working hard along with its faculty and expertise here on campus to develop its own curriculum that is balanced in the sense that it doesn't only focus on disciplines, but also skills and values that we hope to, that will instill in the students and also achieve our mission as a bigger community. So that's a really brief overview, but I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the REAL acronym?
Yes. There's a number of sort of like guiding philosophical sort of acronyms or documents that guide all of our curriculum here and pedagogy here at Green School. So REAL is how we describe how we learn best or how we teach. So it's all about the how. And we put a lot of emphasis on that in everything we do, because Green School does follow the philosophy that we believe that we learn more from how we are taught than from what we are taught. So there's a huge emphasis on what we call REAL, and REAL is an acronym, and it stands for, the R is relationship centered and holistic. The E is experiential and evolving. The A is authentic and interconnected. The L is local to global. So all of those pieces kind of inform our teaching philosophy, but also that's what we want students to experience every day here at Green School. We want the experiences, every learning experience, to be as real as possible. So often there's even more of an emphasis on how we deliver curriculum than the curriculum itself.
Great.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here's a question about whether English is the language of instruction.
Providing, regardless of the level, we aim to provide students with really meaningful descriptive feedback in real time, but also include students in the process. So at every level, students are included in a reflective process on their skills, values, and knowledge. And that's the other thing maybe I'll say about assessment. At every level as well, as we seek to find this balanced approach to learning that also guides our curriculum, in that we are not only assessing on knowledge and we're not only assessing on skills. And part of our curriculum here, we have what we call the Green School skills, but they're very similar to 21st century competencies or skills that you might find in other schools as well, such as critical thinking or communication or creative thinking. So we try to find a balance between assessment of knowledge and Green School skills, but also Green School values. And we have our I respect values that we also feel we need to be embodying at all times as this community of learners, and in order to achieve our mission and our ambitions. So our assessment at every level aims to achieve that balance in those three categories. The only learning neighborhood or developmental level of the school that does receive grades is high school. And that primarily is to be able to set up the students for success with their transcripts, regardless of their postgraduate pathway. We have found that that enables us to translate our programs a little bit more easily with the external world. However, even those grades are a culmination of that balanced approach. There are no grades in the other levels, but there are consistent reports, conferences, and showcases that we try to provide that real-time and reflective feedback.
Great.
Anything I'm missing?
Thanks. No, I was just thinking about, maybe you said this and I missed it, but in high school, sometimes students need additional exams to get into university. And in that case, students on their own would have to, well, the school supports them in figuring it all out, but sometimes they might need to go to Singapore to take an exam, or to a testing center
here on
island to take an exam, like the ACT, the SAT, A levels, AP exams. So we support them in getting the resources they need to prepare. And in some cases, my son, for example, took AP calculus last year, and the entire class went to Singapore together to take the exam. So
it is good to mention we don't want to close any doors to students, and sometimes that means offering the option to take external assessments and standardized assessments. But we hope, I think it's our aim to make sure that those do not drive our programs and curriculum, but that students still have those doors open to them should they need them.
Right. As many of you know, if you're coming from North America in particular, schools tend to teach to the test. So the focus is on almost 100% on preparing students for tests, starting at a very young age. And we take the perspective that actually the tests are only one tiny measurement of students learning, and we value experiential learning and values-based learning and all these other ways of expanding your horizons and growing as individuals.
And instead of a test, I think what you'll find at every level of the school is students are participating in what we call assessments or assessment activities. But that could be, building and managing a chicken coop, and the students are demonstrating their skills and their knowledge through that project. Or it could be presenting at a conference on climate change, or it could actually look like an assessment from other schools as well. In some classes, students might be writing a paper, but we really try to make sure that they have a balance and that our assessment activities are just as real as in the acronym as our instruction and learning in general. Yeah.
Great. And everyone, I apologize for the sound quality. We're working on it, but I think because it's a very windy day, we're getting some feedback from our microphones. But our technical crew is working on it, so hopefully that will be resolved soon. Okay, the next question is about the possibility of sharing this curriculum or this type of teaching around the country of Indonesia, which is a great question.
It is a great question. I think, I don't know, I can try for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we really have tried to collaborate on the development of our curriculum. And that includes, we have a lot of programs that work with local schools here. For example, when we developed our Seeds to Table program, we have a teacher here who has tried to train teachers in our local schools to actually implement that same program. Our curriculum is almost, and probably will forever be, in development. So I feel like those might be the moments where we've actually achieved some collaboration and sharing in the most effective way. And maybe a Green Educators course is a way that we share too. Yeah.
Yeah, they are regularly offering that program for educators come around the globe as well. And then as we are our host country Indonesia and Bali province especially, we do have kind of other local schools to learn a little bit about our schools and program, where we believe that some of the things that we are doing in here adopted to their practical daily activities for their students there in different ways, of course. Yeah,
I think it can be a challenge trying to merge education for sustainability in more traditional atmospheres. But I just thought of when you were saying that too, in a few weeks or maybe next month, we are even hosting a conference with school and participants from schools all over Indonesia will actually attend the conference here at Green School. And we have some teachers speaking and some other guests coming to run workshops. And the focus is on education for sustainability.
So I think maybe somebody who came in late is asking about language again.
Right.
So just to make it really clear, English is the primary language of instruction. So mathematics, literacy, science, social studies, all of the basic subjects, green studies, are all taught in English. All of our teachers speak English. We also have Indonesian teachers who teach Bahasa Indonesia, which is the national language of Indonesia. And in the middle and high school levels, we offer Spanish and French.
Yes.
And then there have been times when, based on student interest, parents have helped coordinate after school lessons in other languages like Japanese or Chinese or French or whatever, or social events for people who speak other languages to come together and practice their language skills. So I think that hopefully that answers the questions about language. And let's see. I think our sound is better now. Can somebody just confirm that? Hopefully you can all hear us better now. Okay, great. Looks like it's better. So really sorry about that. By the way, this is being recorded, and we can email it to you afterwards. Well, in a few days, we'll need to edit first, and hopefully we can adjust the sound a little bit in that editing process, but I'm not sure yet. So either way, we can send you a recording when it's finished. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? It can be about curriculum. It could be about any of our individual learning neighborhoods. So we have early years, which is ages 3, 4, and 5. We have primary, which is age 6 to 11, or grades 1 through 5. Middle school is grades 6, 7, 8, and high school is grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. And it basically more or less follows a North American system. So it's very familiar to people from North America, but it might be a little bit different if you're coming from another country, but it's okay. We have families from over 40 different countries around the world, and they integrate just fine. It's the grade differences really don't matter. Okay, so our next question is, can you teach values, respect, cooperation, creativity?
How can you teach those?
Or how do we teach
Yes.
them, or how can we teach them?
Yes, that's actually, I feel like it's not just a question that's asked by families and prospective parents, but it's probably a question that's largely asked by our educators when they arrive here, though, too, in Green Educator course. It's very great to say, like, okay, so we're teaching those green school skills, or we're teaching our school values, but how does one do that? And I feel like we're always getting better at that. But where we've achieved success is really including students in that process as much as possible. So, for example, in our primary, and Ibu Jen just said, primary is grade 1 to 5. We teach thematically, and that theme might be about animals, or maybe it's about birds. And usually the teachers will choose 1 to 2 of our green school skills. So maybe that's cooperation, or collaboration is what we call it in our school. And maybe it's one of our values that we look at is sustainability. And a lot of activities that the teachers develop are explicitly designed so the students know that they're practicing their collaboration skills. So for example, if the students are playing a game or actually doing a project, part of the assessment and will include a conversation at the beginning and making plans. How are we going to collaborate? How can we achieve success together versus on our own? What does it look like to have good collaboration? What does it feel like when we collaborate successfully? And how will embodying certain values actually help us achieve these goals? And afterwards and during the process, the teachers are feeding back as much as possible explicitly on those particular areas. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of opportunities, but I think in very brief, that's one example of teaching methods and how we aim to achieve that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think we're teaching those values and those skills basically all the time, mm-hmm. especially on in group projects, which we do a lot of. And then we also do have a social emotional learning program. Mm-hmm. So we have school counselors throughout the school, and those counselors teach developmentally appropriate social emotional skills. Mm-hmm. So it's about learning about yourself, learning about communication skills, collaboration, how to work through personal conflicts, mm-hmm. All sorts of things that fall under the category. But we're very much focused on developing the whole child and not simply filling their brains with information that they might never need in life. Mm-hmm. It's more about the process of learning and getting in there with your classmates and learning how to solve problems and work through conflict.
I think it's a really good way to describe it, actually. In teaching holistically, and especially in finding that balance between like knowledge, skills, and values, it's actually mm-hmm. about process mm-hmm. and less about the final product. Mm-hmm. If we're working on a project and we completely fail, and I say we as in like maybe me as well, and not just the students.
Yeah.
That's okay, because what did we learn during the process, and shifting the focus more onto process and less onto the final outcome.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, the next question is, does the Green School connect at all with the PYP? The PYP is an International Baccalaureate primary years program. Mm-hmm. And Emily, I think you can speak to that.
I feel like you guys could too, but I can try. I think there are some similarities in the sense that we do try to really capitalize on what can be achieved when we teach thematically. I think maybe a difference, though, is where our teachers try to integrate all the subjects in an interdisciplinary way through our thematic approach to learning. We're often mindfully choosing themes that focus on some aspect of sustainability explicitly. I think another similarity would be looking at the idea, I think anyways, like of capstone projects at different levels of learning, and PYP, MYP, I feel like there are some similarities, but at the same time, where we differ maybe is our explicit focus on sustainability and also maybe our methods of achieving those.
Yeah, and my children were in an international baccalaureate school years ago, and comparing the two experiences, I would say that the green school curriculum is much more flexible and adaptable. It's not a prescribed curriculum. It's something that evolves every day, even though we do have lots and lots of documentation and we do have, guidelines. Allows for student guided learning. So if we have a group of students who are really excited about something, then instead of the teacher just teaching what the curriculum tells them to teach, the lesson for the day or for the month or whatever can just take a big turn and just follow student interests. So I think that's one of many ways that it is quite different.
I like to call it here a living curriculum for that reason too. Yeah. Like trying to, instead of seeing adapting curriculum or flexibility as a hindrance, seeing it as an opportunity to really maximize on student, but also teacher passions and opportunities in our campus and our community. And
yeah, exactly. Okay, here's a question about our early years program. What does a day look like for kids in the early years? Well, first of all, it looks like a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite things to do is just walk through their little contained campus, and there's usually a lot of mud involved and playing. It's very much a play-based curriculum. They're being introduced to some pre-literacy and pre-mathematics skills, but at that stage we take more of a Steiner approach to education, and it's really more about exposure, like letting students explore their interests and developing social skills, developing fine and gross motor skills, exploring their creativity, developing their creativity. There's a lot of social emotional learning that goes on about just how to talk about your feelings, how to talk to your friend if you're upset about something instead of throwing a temper tantrum. So it's very much play-based and relationship-centered, I would say. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think that was beautiful. I love it. One of my favorite parts about our early years program, too, is that they find a very developmentally appropriate way to also be local and maximize on our campus. And the Bahasa and Budaya program thrives in the early years. Yeah. And the students are often on what for them is a field trip, but it's often to places like the school kitchen where they're going to go and explore and make things and collaborate with our other educators and our staff members.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. And then in terms of what the day looks like, there are different options for full-time or a full day is for everyone is 8:15 to 3:15, but in the early years there's an option to do a half day, and there's also the option to do 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week. So there's flexibility there, just depending on the family's needs and interests.
Yeah, so many questions about our young kids as well. Many parents asking similar thing. It's like they just simply answering. They just little kids. What they do, just playing around. But also we recently opened this adding Ibu Jane information that instead of like only 3 or 5 whole days, we also have another option for 4 days. Away. So because some of the parents feeling that 3 is too
Too little.
too little, and then 5 too much, and then in the middle of this.
Yeah, so it's very flexible. The next question is about students with special needs, whether they have a different curriculum. I guess I could talk to that one because I previously was a learning support teacher at Green School and at other schools. And so my background is working with students with learning differences, mild to moderate learning differences like dyslexia, ADHD, autism spectrum. And we do accept students with learning differences, definitely. We have learning support teachers throughout our school. We depend on parents to be very honest about their children's needs. Are and whether or not we have the resources to meet the students' needs. The reason being that we are not a special needs school. We are definitely a mainstream school, and we follow an inclusion approach. So students with different learning needs are in the classroom with everybody else, and we're very careful not to label students or make students feel different. Sometimes there might be modifications to the curriculum. There might be accommodations as well, and it just looks very different for every student, and that's what a learning support teacher's job is to help figure those out and to make sure that they're being implemented in the classroom. Occasionally we have students who have more significant needs who would require a one-on-one teacher, and that's not something that the school offers, but we're open to discussing possibilities of the parents employing someone to be a student aide in certain circumstances. It's really just about open communication with the parents, so that we all know when the student arrives their first day of class, there aren't any surprises, and some more. Yeah, I guess some people are still having technical issues, and I'm really sorry for that. We will record. We are recording, and we will send you the edited copy of the webinar. Okay. This one was about inclusion. I think I covered that. That means that we are inclusive. We don't discriminate based on anything. We accept all sorts of students with all sorts of learning needs, all different backgrounds, religions, whatever. Okay, here's a question about if we can help someone opening a green school in another country. And this is actually the vision of the founders, is to spread the green school dream around the world. And Emily has actually been quite involved in trying to make it easier for schools to do exactly that. There's no one size fits all, but there is a process around that, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I think that the school does direct people with questions about what that process entails to our Green School Support Office, which is not here in Green School Bali, so I don't think any of us can speak on their behalf. However, I do think that if anybody is interested, then there is a support office that you could be in touch with, and this Green School Bali could make sure that you get the right contact as well to inquire about what that process is. So there are new green schools opening up around the world, and that has been an interesting experience for all of us to both see that happen and also see what it means for us here at Green School Bali. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than directing them to GSSO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's good. Okay. How important are the surroundings of the school and facilities for the children to learn well? I think that's a good question because and that's a question that we don't really know the answer to.
Yes.
We who work here and are part of this community think that the natural environment is really an essential part of students' learning. We think of our entire campus, and in fact, our entire community is our classroom and our laboratory, and students are out, all the time in the gardens, by the river, in the surrounding community, just learning by doing. And so, in that respect, the campus is really essential. There are problems that arise because we are outside, and a good example is right now the sound quality is not so good because the wind is blowing. We sometimes have big rains that make it hard to hear in the classroom. It can be very hot. There can be mosquitoes, there can be insects, there can be snakes. We have composting toilets and all the smells that go around with that. So I think it's important for people to know that it looks beautiful in the pictures and on videos, but the reality of being here is actually we're in the jungle.
Yes.
And we love it, obviously, or we wouldn't be here, but it's not for everybody.
I think you put it perfectly.
All right. Okay, here's a suggestion to collaborate with a community in Indonesia, which I think is wonderful. This is something we've really wanted to do, is to get more green schools started in Indonesia. There's been a lot of interest. We've had educators come from all over Indonesia to do the Green Educator course, and some have started their own initiatives in different places around Indonesia. And I think now that we've gotten the government certification, was a big deal. We just did that.
Yes.
And so hopefully that will improve the legitimacy of what we're doing, and maybe will inspire more green schools in Indonesia.
We do collaborate with some schools, and it's interesting. I think the question's from Kalimantan. And a number of our service learning and service projects go all out into different islands on the archipelago of Indonesia. And a lot of those actually are collaborating with schools already. So as we build those partnerships, it would be amazing to see how that would grow into, potentially satellite campuses or other green schools. But we are trying to maintain and build those relationships with schools and learning educational institutions of all sorts in different islands in Indonesia.
That we would all love for there to be more green schools in Indonesia, especially, and more partnerships. Something that we're slowly growing, but it takes time. And our focus always at Green School is our students, and so it's sometimes hard to do everything that we want to do. We're really focused on doing what's best for our students, and sometimes that means other projects take longer. All right, there's a question. Is there a waiting list? Great question. And there is. Can you talk about that, Ibu?
We do have waiting lists, but our waiting list is not kind of based on numbers or first come first served thing. As a green school now reaching our capacity, now we have 520 students in total all around, starting earlier to high school. And then as previously we informed you that we will be starting offering place in mid-April for August 2020 start. The background is why, because we need to know from our current enrolled family if they are staying or leaving. We will only be able to offer space if our current parents would leave to another country for their personal reasons. There are so many reasons behind there, of course. And then, but I would say that from time to time, from year to year, I can say about 15% until 20% of total current enrolled would leave at the end of the school year in June. So we can fill that space up with the newcomers. In mid of April, we will be ready to offering space for the waiting list students. But before that, we would like, I mean, we will be doing kind of second review when we have information on how space left by the current family, and the other hand we have with information. Then we will do kind of again the second kind of review or waiting list, and then we will be put family with long-term intention to stay with Green School, of course, on the top of the list. But we also consider other factor like language skill, learning support things, and also commitment to the community as part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though we have a waiting list, we add new spaces every year, and starting in mid-April is when we notify parents of openings for August. So again, in case you joined late, make sure that if you're interested in your child starting in August, that their application is complete and all application materials are submitted by March 1st. Okay, I think we have time for one more, and then our time will be up. Pierre Rabhi, an Algerian philosopher and naturalist, once said, "It's not enough to just ask what planet are we going to leave to our children. It's also important to ask ourselves, what children are we going to leave to our planet? What kind of children do you think your curriculum and approach will leave to our planet?" That's beautiful.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I actually think we've done a lot of work on this. I hope this answers that question. We have what is called our Green School Ambitions, and what they are a set of qualities, competencies, and mindsets we hope everybody in our community embodies, but even more so, very similar to what other schools would describe as their graduate profile, what kind of students they hope to send out into the world. They do kind of act as guideposts for everything we do. So these are the types of qualities, competencies, and mindsets we hope to instill in all of our students, regardless of where they're going. And some of that looks similar to other schools, a little bit of it, in the sense that we hope that our students are deep thinkers and critical thinkers and knowledgeable about how beautiful the world is and different subjects. But a lot of it does sound different as compared to other schools. And I think I'm not going to get every single one right, because this is it's like one of our guiding philosophical documents. But I think one thing that is important to note in our qualities is that they do embody the I respect values, but also that we hope to instill joyness and kindness in our students. And that's something that kind of sets us apart. And our 3 mindsets. And I think that does so much inform our approach to programs and curriculum. And those mindsets are a sustainability mindset. So regardless of what we're all doing in the world, that we have that mindset and we think about those concepts and what this means for the sustainability in all aspects. So environmental sustainability, social sustainability, that we have that systems thinking approach. Another mindset is an entrepreneurial and innovative mindset. So that is one that is action-oriented. We don't just think about things, we put it into action. We creatively implement when we know that we can. And the last one is a growth mindset. And I know that Jen and I have talked a lot about that. But just that we know that it's not about how much you know, it's about how our approach, again, it's that process over product, how we learn best, and how we all can acknowledge how we can improve in that sense. Yeah, so there's those kind of guiding documents, the Green School Ambitions, are online, because I think my description of it is not going to be as comprehensive as it could be. But it's a great question, and I think the school has spent a lot of time thinking about that and creating these things called the Green School Ambitions that guide everything we do.
Yeah, it's something that we, our teachers come here because they love teaching, but they want to be part of something very different.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be part of this movement,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very important to us that we're not just teaching the regular things that everybody else teaches, that we're really inspiring, we're we're supporting our students to take risks, to really go out there and do things that they might not otherwise do, and learn new changes. And anyway, it's a unique place. Kids are happy here.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. We encourage you, if at all possible, to come visit. We do tours every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
We have open days a couple of times a year. So if you're at all able to come visit, I recommend it, so you can understand what this place is about a little bit. But in the meantime, if you have questions, just email us. We'll do our best to answer. Unfortunately, I think we're out of time, but if you have more questions, send them to admissions@greenschool.org. And again, we'll get these recordings emailed out to you in a few days. All right. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.